I'll record.
Recording in.
Okay, now you got to cut your sound off.
I did.
Okay, good. Thank you. So hello, everybody. It's good to be with you. It's nice to see that some of us at least showed up on a holiday weekend. I'm glad to have that. I noticed that everybody that's supposed to be here is here. So how about that? Let's go around and say hello. And we got Philip, and also noticed Philip. Hello, how are you, sir? Philip also has his hand up. I think it's the only hand that's up. So unless we're going to have a lot of quiet time today together, we'll want to get some questions. What'd you say?
Leor just put his up.
Right. Great. Okay. Now, so Philip, it's hello, and Leor, it's good to see you, sir. And Kron, it's nice to see you. Welcome. And Lloyd, hey Lloyd, how are you, pal? Good to see you. And Art and Jean, it's a pleasure. Good to see you too. And Robin and Susie, good to see you too. Yeah, how are you? Hope your holiday was good. So Wolfgang, welcome back. Good to see you, sir. And Jan, hey Jan, how are you? And Keith, hello Keith. Good to see you, sir. James, hey James, good to see you. Good to have you here. And Barbara, it's a pleasure. And Teddy. And let's see, there's John. Hey, John Ling. And Birch is here. Birch wrote me an hour early. I think he got his time zone screwed up since he moved. And Randy, how you doing, man? Good to see you, sir. Owen Hosford, hello. And look at Judy all dressed in red. That's beautiful, beautiful. And here comes Glenda. And let's see.
You missed Darren, Ted Little, JP.
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
Where am I?
Mr. Rowe.
Mr. Rowe.
There's JP. There's Darren.
Oh,
Ted,
yeah.
JP,
Barb Sullivan,
Tom Smith.
Darren. Hey, how are you today? It's good to see you. I'm sorry I skipped over you. It was not intentional. Ted Little, I did actually intentionally miss you.
That's cruel. That's cruel.
JP, it's a pleasure, sir. I see that your colleague is not with you. That's okay. Just tell her we said hello. We miss her. And Tom Smith, hello, Tom Smith. How you doing, pal? Hope things are going well in the villages. Glenda, hello, love. It's a pleasure. So we've got a nice little group. So let's do our 2-minute meditation. I think everybody here knows it, but if you don't, let's just take 2 minutes and just be quiet and notice that there is a sense of aliveness here, a sense of existence, a simple sense of being. Okay, thank you, everybody. So let's jump in and see where we go. Philip, come in and
Hi, Oneness. Hi there. How are you?
Very well, and good to see you, sir.
Yeah. It's lovely to be here. Absolute privilege to be here, and it's just beautiful to be amongst so many great sages every week. So they really make it really special. And just hope everybody had a lovely Christmas day yesterday. I'm wishing everybody a very happy and a very safe new year to everybody. So. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, just about spiritual progress. I think what was lovely here was the recognition by oneness that the mind is finite and it will never understand the infinite.
Yeah.
It's not so
hopeless.
Just rest as the divine mystery, as the great unknowing, and there isn't the mind in the background just trying to figure it out all the time, and the mind becomes the servant of oneness rather than trying to master it, and the mind helps oneness to behold itself rather than trying to hold itself.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all that I'd say we can do, but it's all that can happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and just another thing is on the progress side is what I realized is as oneness rests as conscious awakeness more and more, and the Tao is flowing friction-free through the unit. There is just complete and utter acceptance of what is, and there is just relaxing and being the present moment. There's no story of future. There's no hope. There's no building of expectation for the benefit of the unit. It's just what is, and just an acceptance of that. I think a big example for me recently is the unit came to the realization that possibly in the new year the unit may be undertaking some a feeling therapy that may help the unit to metabolize and integrate the massive feelings of terror, rage, and hopelessness that are very periodically coming up into awareness and hijacking awareness and producing unconscious awakeness. And the unit has read many of the books of the pioneer of the therapy, and the theory and the practice resonates very deeply at this location. So oneness is very invested in this therapy, but there has never been elation that I'm going to be doing this therapy, and there's never been a building up of expectation that it's going to cure me. It's purely just what there's just really obedience to what is. If it happens and it's successful, great. If it doesn't, then that's fine as well. That will be accepted. But there's no thinking about outcomes ahead of time. Everything happens as it happens, and that's okay.
I really love that phrase that you just used. I never heard it before, and that obedience to what is. And there's no possibility of our being disobedient, but we can't keep it from happening, but we can sure clog it up and with resistance, can't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's and what clearing really is it's the falling away of resistance to what is as it is. I mean, we can go into a lot of stuff that's more complicated than that, but that's really what it boils down to. And of course the recognition that what's allowing what is to be as it is what is. So it's not a separate thing, but but there is some sort of translation or something in there that occurs that makes that either more or less painful on a localized level. And I just noticed that there's just not a lot of pain right now. I had here, Betsy and I had a phone call yesterday after we sent an email from my oldest friend of for like, I don't know, 45, 50 years, 45 years probably. And I'm not going to have another one for that duration. And he's, and he has, he was having kidney failure and all kinds of stuff. There was just really a lot of pretty awful stuff going on. And I just talked to him, and they think that his kidneys may recover, which would be great. That cuts out dialysis. But the interesting thing yesterday was he said was we were talking about life and death, because that's where we knew that he was. And and he said, and he is, at least he's not fully invested in what we're doing, but he knows about what we're doing for sure. And he has garnered some wisdom from it. And he said, I just noticed I'm not worried about dying. He said, I don't want to die. He said, but I'm not concerned about it. And he said, it just comes when it comes. He said, and if it comes in the night tonight, just remember that I love you. And that was such a beautiful way to handle that, to say that, to be able to say that and not, back away from it. Just
yeah.
And I liked that very much.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. So he's right there with what is.
Yeah.
He notices that there's a lot that's not meeting the unit's preferences, but he notices that it's not. He does notice that it's not about the unit, and that's a remarkable quote achievement, a remarkable insight or seeing. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Just lastly from me, the reason that oneness has engaged with this teaching and continues to is really because of the power of oneness that is flowing through the Fred unit. It really is a beautiful sight to see the honesty, the openness, and just the staggering passion that there is over there for oneness to help oneness at other locations to see itself more deeply.
I can watch it on YouTube, and I get a feel for what you're talking about. There's no sense that any of this is stemming from anybody, but I deeply appreciate what you're saying. It's really critical when that well, it's not critical, but it sure is helpful that when you're out here on the edge, that you're getting some support. It can be critical because it's very, very difficult to get and stay clear solo. It can happen, but not often, I would say. Not often. And it surely wasn't happening here.
No, sure. I mean, there's just deep respect here, really, for the deeper and deeper insights that expressed from there. Much appreciated. It kind of takes me on to a question. You've talked many times about our true nature being prior to consciousness. And it being the void, and the void being an absence of experience. So we can't actually, oneness will never actually be able to experience the void. I mean, having said that, should we just say that we just need to accept that the void is part of the divine mystery?
Well, really, the void is the divine mystery.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So all of this is part of that, right? Or stems from that. But the divine mystery is the void, which, I mean, even the word void, I mean, we can't really get our mind around it. You know, I can't even get my mind around the fact they're sending up a spaceship's going to look back in time, billions of years. And I've had years to get used to that idea, but I notice I have not. And that it seems but yesterday I did think about it, and I thought, of course, because everything's happening simultaneously. No reason that you couldn't be able to quote see it.
Yeah.
Because it's all happening simultaneously, and I can't grab that. There's much that this very limited mind cannot grab, but I have noticed that I don't have an overwhelming urge to understand any longer.
Yeah.
I really like not understanding. I really like not knowing.
Yeah.
Because it leaves me in a position of openness, whereas when I know something, I close up immediately. I know this. I've got my way. I've got it right, which is, of course, means you've got it wrong.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philip. It's wonderful to see you as always.
Take care.
Yeah. Lior, hello.
Hi. Hi, good to be here.
From the land of 4 inoculations. Good for you. I may fly over there to get number 4 for myself.
Near the war zone I live.
Yeah.
Gaza Strip, yes. I wanted to share a quote from Nisargadatta that I really like.
Yeah.
I have reached my original state because I have totally discarded anything that this world can give me. Any status or money or anything. Compared to my original state, my true nature, this consciousness is as despicable as urine. I really like the end there. It's really funny.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, that's what he saw. That's what he stayed with. In other words, he not only saw that, but he was able to accept what he had seen as being true. Yes, he was able to say, "Oh, it's not just that I've seen the truth, but I've accepted the truth. That I am the truth." And this is the big movement for us, is that almost nobody comes to this teaching and doesn't fails to be introduced to true nature. The problem is, or the challenge is how do we remain in that unknowing? Because the minute that we get it, the minute that it's grokked, then that's translated as, "Oh, I finally got it." And the minute that misunderstanding really dawns in its entirety, there's the sense of, "Oh, I understand this."
And I'm going to explain it to you.
I'm going to expand it. Yeah, I'm going to clutch it. I'm never going to leave it anywhere. This is mine. And it's the most precious thing. So I've got to hold on tight. And every time we do, and we're just like that, I'm going to hold on tight. I really, when in truth, I'm just shoving the thing away. It can't be held. The finite cannot hold the infinite. And this is exactly the same way as everything in this teaching, which is that everything works the opposite of the way that we think it does. We always thought that the units, the characters, were going to wake up. We discovered to our amazement that was not the case, that it was awakeness that woke up. And then we think we're going to clear up the unit, right? But the unit never clears. It is colonized. It is colonized bit by bit as it remains in the presence of. It remains in the presence of, as it remains as, the longer it remains as conscious awakeness versus unconscious. And that conscious awakeness just naturally begins to spread out. Yeah. It's just, it begins to, well, all these words are bad, but we'll just say it begins to grow. Yes. The more familiarity there is with it, then the more conscious awakeness will be present. And I'm out of words.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leon. Robin and Susie.
Yeah, hi, Fred. And
Hi, Robin. Hi, Susie.
Yeah, we've just had a great Christmas with my grandson who was visiting for the first time. He's 3 months old. So I was sort of noticing how the programming, he was completely non-personal. I mean, he's completely one with everything.
He's how old?
3 months.
He's
3
3
months.
months.
You bet. You bet. Yeah.
But all of us, all of the whole family we were giving him cues to be a person, if you know what I mean. Even we gave him a little tractor with a trailer on,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
so you can help Susie in the garden when you,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were just in there with the best of them doing the programming, you know.
Come out of it. Come out of it.
Yeah. Anyway,
You got to come out before you can. You got to come out before you can go back in consciously. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's our duty too, is to give him a good standing point. I mean, a good basis to get out of, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Well, that was the one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing was that all this gratitude that's been going on here, being experienced.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the character popped up with this one. Do you deserve this? You know.
Yeah. The answer is always no.
Yeah, and who's asking? You know.
That's the real answer. Yeah, that's the.
Yeah. So in all that beauty and gratefulness, that thought just, it's like the ego wants, it's not having any more of this gratitude. God damn it. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if I had to report one common factor that I hear from students as they wake up and clear, it is the appearance of gratitude. And that gratitude, I mean, I can tell when if I've been with somebody who's been having trouble clearing and they begin to report gratitude, I know that they you know, as long as they keep doing what they're doing, they got it in the bag. Just because the gratitude will replace really everything else. No, it's not gratitude for, it's just gratitude. I mean, it's unexplainable. It's unexplainable gratitude. And there's nothing I'd rather hear in a report than to hear of gratitude. But Betsy and I here, I mean, we're overwhelmed with gratitude, even when things are not going our way. Yeah. Things going our way is really quite secondary. Yeah. There's still preferences here, but there's no deep yearning to see that those are followed through. Kind of like my friend, I don't want to die, but if I do, I love you. Yeah.
Thanks for that one. Anyway,
Thank you.
That's all for now.
Great. Thanks so much, Robin. Good to see both of you.
Thanks.
Hey, dear. Yes, I salute you. Birch, it's North Carolina Birch. Come on in.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
Hey, it's New Jersey, by the way.
oh, no, that's what I thought. I say North
North
Carolina, of
Carolina.
course. New Jersey. I just wrote you day before yesterday about being in New Jersey. So
Same time zone, I suppose.
yes, it's good to share the time zone.
Yes. Yeah.
You got an hour in front of yourself earlier today.
Right. You know what's interesting is that when I was over there, I woke up at 7:30 every day. And then when I got here, I woke up at 10:30 every day.
Damn. Yep,
Yeah,
clock hasn't reset.
yeah, right.
So anyways, I've been thinking about and pondering emptiness. And I know that, there's been a lot of teaching about it throughout the ages in the Eastern philosophies. And I'm curious kind of what it means to you, and I'll share what it means to me, experientially. To me, it's kind of a lack of story.
Mhm.
And which gives more a if you're stuck in your story, the potential of what you can do is kind of it feels like, okay, I can go this way or this way. But if there's no story at all, or you're skeptical of your thoughts enough or the story that's going on, the potential is it had nothing to do with the story because there is no story, right? And that helps for me. And I'm curious, what it means to you and your knowledge of what they've taught about it in the past.
So thank you, baby. So emptiness is because, yes, everything is inherently empty, but there's an experience of fullness. So I remember Ramesh, I think it was Ramesh that said, this is the fullest emptiness that you'll ever experience. What I mean really is that emptiness is the absence of comparison. I was thinking this morning how I could pull off a cute video on doing an interview with oneness. Right? And be like, hello, oneness. Thanks for joining us. Huh?
My guest today.
Yeah. My guest today is oneness. Thank you for joining us, oneness. And oneness just says, I had no choice, right? And, well, how are you doing, oneness? Look around. That's how I'm doing. And what are your goals? This is it. I mean, just the really coming down to, I like these really very simplistic approaches to something this powerful, because it's typically it's these simple approaches that really work. And understanding that emptiness is not something that can be understood because there's nothing there. And we can't understand nothing. We can't comprehend nothing. There has to be something. And in order for there to be something, there has to be something else. So, and that is the world of relativity. There's this and there's that.
Mm-hmm.
But with emptiness, there's neither this nor that unless you want to capitalize the that as being the I am that. But that's not an experience. It is a knowing that I prefer to call a grokking, because it's not so, because it's not like an intellectual understanding. There's just, oh, no, oh, I see, it worked like that. Being able to recognize that emptiness is an absence. It's not a presence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that we come to know emptiness. We come to notice emptiness. We notice emptiness, and what notices emptiness is emptiness, even if it's manifested emptiness. The emptiness and form are not different. It's two sides of the same coin. It's two aspects of the same thing. So the difference is that emptiness has no qualities and form has no end of qualities. So form, we can get our heads around, has many qualities. Emptiness, we cannot get our heads around. What we can do is we can tell the truth about it, which is, I know I'm it, but I don't know anything about it. I know I'm it because I cannot not be it, because that's all there is. Because there is the the potential is the realized. It is the potential for the realized, and it is the realized because the realized is dream.
Okay, can you, that last sentence, I just totally don't understand at all, but
Okay.
the potential is the realized, and the realized is the dream?
If the potential is the realized, and what I mean by that is that there's the potential and nothing else. There is the potential with or without appearances. There is the potential that is, I'm just calling it potential because I don't have any, it's not a good name, but I don't think there's a better one that I can think of. So there is that unformed thing with no opposites, it's not a thing or no thing. It's beyond any opposites, life, death, good, bad, big, little, any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Everything springs from that, but everything that springs from that is dream. If you take a look at the
by dream, do you mean that it? I don't quite know what.
Okay, it is. When I say dream, what I'm talking about is that's a word that we can understand, but it is awakeness's dream.
So it's like a form we recognize, and
it is, well, it's not. The primary form of the dream is these things. It was awakeness believes it is these. It thinks it's each one of us individually only.
mm-hmm.
Is that this unit believed for decades that which, in other words, with this unit has no beliefs. It's a body. It has no, it can't do anything on its own. So it has to be the animating presence within the body. And the animating presence here believed, I don't know how else to put it, but believed sounds very directly like an entity, and I don't see that, but it's still the only language I can use, is that it believed it was this, and that this was the center of the universe, and that as pleasant as you are, you guys were all my furniture. And I'm trying to get you where I want you. And what's noticed is that I cannot do that. Hence, there is no satisfaction, and there is no real satisfaction within relativity only comes with the abandonment of satisfaction, with the abandonment of the search for satisfaction. That's satisfaction. Because as long as you're searching, you can't stop. I mean, the searching breeds seeking. So there is only the potential, and then there's disillusion. I've said dream, or you could call it illusion, be fine.
Okay.
So there is only that potential, which is unmanifested, but that smacks of an opposite, which is the manifested. And it doesn't actually work like that. There's no comparison to you. There's you, but there's nothing like you. There's nothing close to being you. There's nothing that there's just nothing. There's no opposite whatsoever. And like right now, in the opposite, in the absence of a birch, I mean, what can you know? There's just this experience. So with the adoption of a body, if you will, then there is the sense of being arises. And there is all that experience, but it's virtual. If you look at virtual reality, do we want to say it's in the room, or do we want to say that it's on the disk or in the software? I think it's in the software, but it's not realized. But the potential for everything that you're experiencing is in the software. It's not. Which is where it's code. It's nowhere. It's beyond. It's beyond realized and not realized. But this is not other than potential, because the potential never changes. It's potential. It's raw potential. You can't understand that. I can't understand it, but it's raw potential. So and appearances appear to spring from it, to live a short little life, and then the appearances go back to nothing. So we focus only on the manifested. I mean, as a race, we tend to focus on the manifested. We tend to focus on objects. We tend to focus on that which is objective. But that's not the important part. Just like in this, we tend to focus on the objects and not the space. But the objects come and go like flies, and the space is never changing. And you can fill the space with light or smoke or pollution or perfume, but the potential is never changed. It's just the potential for all those things. That's not a good explanation. I'm not sure that I certainly am sure that I don't have one. If I understood it, then I would be beyond human, and I'm not.
So I guess what I take away from it is that the objects are just part of the whole the whole one thing with no comparison to it. And, you know, any object that arises is just, it's just not a separate entity. And
If you look at a pond at night, you'll see the moon and the stars reflected in it.
Yeah.
But they're not down there, are they? That's just the appearance. Trying to weigh the moon in the pond, you can't, it's not there. Right? Try to do anything to the stars. They're not actually there. They're reflections. This is the way of the manifested. The manifest, that's just a word that we use to describe what we call manifestation, but that's just what we call it. That's actually a group agreement. That we think manifested means, well, you know, this, that is real. But when I talk about this, I don't think of it as real or unreal. It's as real as anything else, but that ain't saying much for it.
mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yeah, especially our perception of it is not
Yeah.
as real.
Perception of a thing is not the thing.
Right. Yeah.
So I really like this. I like this being on the edges of something where we're, it forces me to go beyond what is known here, beyond my understanding, so to speak. Well, all of this is beyond my understanding as a unit, because there's no one here, but as awakeness, as conscious awakeness, I'm conscious awakeness, but I ain't all of consciousness awakeness in the sense that there's the intelligence of awakeness is, I mean, it's so great that, I mean, go down and tell an ant about the human world. I mean, and what would it do? I mean, it wouldn't be able to understand it, comprehend it, make any difference to it. I mean, it would just, that ant might develop a belief in something beyond ants. But it's beyond ants. It's when what we're talking about is beyond consciousness. So consciousness is making a hash of turning that knowing into words. Can't happen, but there's nothing so delightful as trying.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Fred.
Thank you very much, Birch.
Yeah.
Glenda, come in, love.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Oh, I don't really know. I didn't have anything specific to say. Just wanted to participate.
Good.
I'm going to fumble my way through something that I
Yeah.
noticed in last satsang.
Fumbling is an art form. I dance
Well,
on the head of that can every week.
I think I'm going to have to get good at it because it's funny. Before a real experience of there's no Glenda,
Mhm.
when I, as a spiritual seeker, this unit or whatever associated with it, and it was highly intelligent
Mhm.
and always got the spiritual teachings intellectually very, very well, very, very well, and was very articulate about it.
Mhm.
And now I'm like, whoa. What happened to this articulate person?
No, I get it. I mean, you watch the recording on what I just said.
No. I must say, I am always amazed and impressed with how articulate truth, how articulately truth comes through.
Thank you.
From the Fred unit.
Yeah, Fred will say yes to that. Thank you.
Yeah, because it is no easy feat.
No.
So I believe Stephen had made a comment about my sharing.
Mhm.
And you said, Glenda is very clear.
Mhm.
And this is where there was the noticing that of like surprise. I don't know if that's the right word. I guess when I thought about it, I think what actually happened is that I was being there as awakeness, or standing as the nothingness.
Yeah.
And so in hearing that, I don't know, it didn't register like, like
I know. People write this unit all the time.
like-
I don't know who, people write this unit and they thank it for doing this and thank it for doing that. And I'm like, what? I mean,
Right.
did you get the wrong address? Why did I get this?
I never kind of had that experience. It was like an experience of the source of it was not identifying as a Glenda, I believe. That's why it happened that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
But it was very unusual
Yeah.
experience.
Now you notice that not Glenda didn't have a Glenda experience.
Yeah, like why is Glenda
Yes.
not acting proud about this type of experience?
Yes. Yeah, you don't know much more about humility than I do.
I don't know. It felt very unusual.
But it's nice, isn't it? It's because it's us seeing it's watching our own arrogance drop, at least momentarily, because the unit believes that it's so very intelligent. But my first question there is, compared to what? Yeah, compared to what? So to have there creep in some self-awareness with a capital S, some self-awareness with a capital S, thank you. And to let humility leak away, so to speak, just not to have not Glenda show up because what if that compliment is carried through properly, then it won't be accepted by Glenda.
Yeah, that's how it felt. Yeah.
And that's peculiar. Because
it was, yes, very peculiar.
Yeah, because well, this is the way it is over here. I can't guess why it is over there, but over here there's why didn't you just suck that up, right? Why didn't you take that and put it in your little quiver? I mean, whatever, why didn't you put that in your backpack to take home? And it's like it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, it seemed like there should be something about, there should be a pride or an accomplishment with the acknowledgement, but there wasn't. But there was an appreciation and a gratitude.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was
unusual. No, there is gratitude. It's exactly what I was referring to when you were talking about the articulation that comes through here.
Yeah.
When you told me that, and I was like, and it was like, it hits a wall because it's not Fred's, but then there's an opening of where there's gratitude, but just gratitude for someone saying that, right? About this. There's a gratitude that comes up, but it's just gratitude. It's not my gratitude or your gratitude or awakeness's gratitude. It's just not like that. It's just gratitude. Gratitude is the hallmark of awakening, of awakeness, I could say.
But then on the other hand, so that was very nice. That's a great an experience of clarity. Then there was, I don't know if this is what the hell this was. Sometime this week, I said or did something that was upsetting to my husband.
Mhm.
He doesn't do this work.
Yeah.
And he's a guy. He doesn't talk, about his feelings and that kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
But this, whatever it was, like, I could feel something. So I asked him what's going on. And he grudgingly told me that I didn't speak nicely to him or something like this. So I guess I didn't know so what did I do? And he couldn't give me the examples. So I just had his story. And the pull of reaction to that was amazing. I had this whole story. It was right after my mother passed away. Who knows how but what was most disturbing to me was about that I was totally unconscious. I could not even think of what I had done. It took me quite a while. I guess I couldn't speak to him very much because the children were visiting for Christmas or whatever. As soon as actually I had the opportunity, I said to him, please, if I do something that's hurtful to you, in other words, you have to tell me right then and there.
Right.
Because I want to be conscious about that stuff.
Yeah.
And unless I'm aware of what it is, there's nothing I can do to affect it. I am totally unaware of what you're talking about. I guess the feeling like that kind of hooking of a glendedness is you're blaming me for something I didn't do. It doesn't exist,
There's a saying here that is you can't fix what you can't see.
Yeah. So, and what was a beautiful thing about it? As soon as I said that to him, he got it. He said, "You're absolutely right."
Ooh.
Yeah.
What a
He
blessing.
said, "You're absolutely right. I have to tell." So yes, you have to see it too.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
And he got that it really upset me that I can't change what happened,
Yeah,
but I can't even apologize. I don't even know what I did.
Yeah, that's where and that's where this passive resentment kicks in, where if you're not careful, you store that thing. And the next time that somebody screws up and doesn't know it, you take that screw up and you pack it on top of the last time they did such a thing, and you begin to build a personality that doesn't exist.
Mm.
In other words, you're resentful about stuff that the other person is not even conscious of. And there's another side to that too, which is that we can think that we know what the other person is thinking. And I'm very cautious about that with Betsy, and she is cautious about it with me, in the sense that, like, a lot of times, I mean, it's just crazy because I grew up with, walking on eggshells around a father under enormous pressure and freshly sober and all of that. And so it was a fraught. And now, and Betsy woke up with a similar situation. Her father wasn't alcoholic, but he was mentally ill. And so there was still that eggshell thing. And so I walk around thinking, oh, God, I've got to hurry because, Betsy's really gonna what? Betsy never does anything like that. And, right? And she'll go up and think, oh, I'm in trouble now. And she comes in and I say, well, great. And she goes, oh, thank you so much. I grew up. So it's your husband, or it could be you, it's whoever, believing that they have gotten a certain message from somebody, when the person didn't give that message at all. It was just missing.
Yeah, I don't even, yeah, yes, exactly. I didn't even know if there was some validity to what validity or not. I
Right.
don't know if I had an unconscious pattern or if he misinterpreted something. But it lingered like, it didn't even, I don't know, maybe I'm kidding myself. It wasn't that I felt like it was a Glenda or something, but I still saw it. It wasn't, maybe because it wasn't addressed or maybe it wasn't complete or something. It stayed with me. My frustration was very interesting to watch because I could see what was happening, but there wasn't this like total just it had an element of something happening still. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, you're either conscious or you're not conscious. I suppose what I'm wondering is, I don't know, was I conscious or was I not conscious? I'm not really sure. The experience at the time was I'm conscious, and what's happening is an unconscious pattern. Is there such a, is that?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I guess that I was conscious of an unconscious
That's
pattern
right.
running.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Running. And it was running. It wasn't like, it wasn't finished.
It didn't disappear upon recognition.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, it felt like I was this awake, but it was.
Yeah. And
Yes.
that can sometimes be the unexpected pain of awakening, is that once there is conscious awakeness, then all of these unskillful patterns that we never knew about, we never even expected. I mean, I thought I was a pretty nice guy, right? But I think in a lot of ways I was not. And I couldn't see that until awakening occurred. And then I could see it very, very clearly. However, I was powerless to change it.
Mm.
So all I could do was to look in, and it was like, oh man, right? Why did it do that? I know so much better than that. And the answer there is yes, conscious awakeness does, quote, know better than that, but the body doesn't. The conditioning does not wake up. And so awakeness witnesses shall we call it, the misbehavior of
the good thing about that I could see in listening to what you're saying is that I didn't have, I should know better than that, because there was no Glenda there to be chiding about.
Oh, very
I
good.
should know
Yeah.
better about that.
Yeah, good.
It was just that seeing through it, supposedly, it just wasn't enough. It just had to keep.
It doesn't stop it.
It didn't. No, it didn't stop it until it stopped.
It repeated observation will change that. Repeated up, because there's a calculation there that, ooh, this is unskillful. Yeah, and it's because why you're reporting it. And
yes.
So when that's seen over and over again, I mean, it can snap with one thorough seeing. I've had a couple of things snap with one, but I've been a slow learner other than that.
That's good. I actually think it's important to share it because, how should I say this? We started off about just feeling gratitude and not identifying with the acknowledgement and stuff. In other words, if I'm just here and just sharing the clarity.
And it's also,
it's not fair. It's not the truth for all of us. All oneness here needs to see that. It's wonderful that there's a lot of clarity, but sometimes there's, bumps, whatever.
Clarity.
It looks different ways.
clarity begets clarity, but so does the clarity in witnessing unskillful events or patterns. Because you are awakeness, you are conscious awakeness and nothing else. And you cannot witness something without actually altering what you're witnessing. So
Well, I guess-
it may not be perceptible on a relative level yet.
But in this case, I think it was seen in his response to when I was able to say, you have to tell me so I can.
Yes, right.
And he said, you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
That,
right.
I think you could see it there. Is that what you mean?
Well, what I really meant was that we can see it, but it's even better if you're in this with somebody else and they can see it too. But the biggest thing is that just recognize that anytime an unskillful pattern is noticed, that's a plus.
Okay.
Because it was going on before and you just didn't know anything about it. Now what you're doing is you're bringing that unskillfulness to the light. And that's all that's required is that the light play upon it. The light doesn't, it's not about internal manipulation or anything. It's just, if you shine a flashlight in a room, you don't have to do anything other than shine the flashlight and darkness goes away.
Yeah.
Right. But it goes away primarily in that beam, and the corners may still be dark. And clearing is having that beam expand. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. It was certainly.
It's always, it's always good to report things that are not understood, things that are behavior that's not, A-okay or not so skillful or anything like that. It's good to report that because otherwise other people in the room are going, man, she sounds really together and I'm just all screwed up.
Exactly. And I don't want that, it's like. No.
And thereby there's the insistence here that that there's been no graduation.
Yes.
There is no graduation.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's clearing. But clearing is
infinite clearing.
Infinite clearing. Thank you. Yeah. Infinite clearing for infinity. Thank you, love.
Thank you.
My friend Lloyd, come in.
Hey, Fred, happy holidays to you and everybody.
Happy holidays to you. Thank you so much.
Thank God it's over.
Yeah.
Having fun on holidays can be so exhausting.
Yeah, some of us enjoy holidays and others of us endure them. I'm out of both.
Yeah, so it is. I enjoyed the discussion earlier on emptiness. It's a topic I love to think about, and of course one that comes primarily out of language. It seems I was just thinking about that during the session here. Of course, there's a history of that word and where it came from, and the philosophy of emptiness and so forth. So there are very certain ways of talking about it in the literature, but I was just thinking in general that one way of getting it across, maybe, or translating the concept would be one, non-solidity. That is, dreams have a way of going poof, and everything I just said has already gone poof. Language gives us the illusion that we're dealing with solidity, that our body is solid, that we are the body, and that reality is solid. And the obvious bizarre thing is that there's no solidity to be leaned on or found. And so that sense of a solid body, I think it all starts with that. When Robin was talking about his the 3-month-old baby, it hasn't yet got that sense that there's solidity, and so it's sort of going with the flow, and it doesn't have a choice. It is the flow, and it goes with the flow. But once the flow is broken up into I am solid and everything is solid, now we have something to break away from eventually. But it's so hard to talk about it in language, because language is based on solid things that don't change. We call them nouns or whatever, you know. So it just is it's a quagmire to try to talk about that. The original Sanskrit term is svabhava, which means inherent own being or self-being, that there is something solid at our core, which is, well, that's just it, that there's something solid that we own and that we are at our core. And the emptiness is nisvabhava, no solid thing to rely on whatsoever. That is to see that everything is always changing. And that's what we could define as a dream, right? A
Yes.
dream is always changing and always disappearing. And we, because of language, I think, and because of the ego that gets structured, we simply lose sight of the fact that everything around us is changing and going back into nothing every second. We focus, just like when a film is edited, you focus on the picture that you see. You don't focus on what's been edited out. That's impossible. And so it seems like there's just solidity there.
Well, that's
when
a
actually-
great analogy, Lloyd. I love that editing analogy.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I've noticed watching films. It's actually just from experience that we swallow anything that the editor throws at us, you know. You
Yes.
can be in Hawaii 1 second and the next minute you're in Massachusetts, and your mind doesn't go, oh, something's wrong here. Is that, oh, of course, now we're in Massachusetts. And
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah.
Betsy and I, we love to find a long series and watch it, you know, a little bit at a time. And when a character does something out of character, or the plot twist takes unexpected and turn, and it's incapable of suspending our self-awareness. In other words, we look at each other and we go, I don't, you know, I mean, we saw somebody breaking a window the other night, and I said, they would never have penetrated that window. And Betsy said, I know, I was thinking about that. And I looked at her and just said, well, the writers, you know. And that's what we do, is we throw our hands up and we say the writers. And and sometimes here we just have to throw up our hands, say, the writers, right? It doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to.
Well, I think this is what some religions mean by submission to God, that you have no choice. You're watching TV. I do the same thing. I think the writers are God. So I don't see what happens to a character. I see what the writers are doing to characters.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
You know, and that's sort of it. And I just got reacquainted with an idea in Indian philosophy that there's something well above the gods. And what's above the gods are at least I think in pretty clearly in tantric thinking, what's above the gods are the siddhas, and the siddhas are realized beings who are the writers of the gods even. And so, you know, so there are writers, and you're watching a film, and then when you identify with it, well, then you're down the rabbit hole, because you think you're watching the virtual reality, and you think somehow they'll probably give it to us in a while, but you think there's something solid in the virtual reality, and there's not. It's just code. It's just code, and so you get kind of fraught about that thing. But just emptiness is just, in other words, what we're looking at. Emptiness is nothing other than what we're looking at every single minute, and that's what people miss. That they think emptiness is something other, and that's why you know they chant form is emptiness. Well, listen, emptiness is nothing other than this. You want to see emptiness? Open your eyes. Yeah. This is it. This is the real emptiness. There's no opposite to this, which is just a void. This is the void. This is what void looks like.
I remember I was talking to Scott Killaby. This is in when he was my teacher. I'd been awake probably 3 years or something, and we were doing some kind of mental thing, and imagine something tied up with imagination or whatever, and all of a sudden, the instant I closed my eyes and I went, oh, there's the void. It's right here, and it was somehow it's the void whether the eyes are open or closed. It's when I do my dark, when I do the work with the dark field. Typically, I'll then bring the person back to the light field, so that we can see that it's one, and it's not intent. It's not dependent upon us having eyes closed, right? We can, this is it. This is, and I know how this looks and everything, but this is not other than emptiness. There's not anything, and this is not other than that potential, because there's that potential and there's nothing else beyond the potential except for the appearances here.
Yeah, it's just the craziest thing, because like you say, everything is upside down. And it gives me more memories of Alice in Wonderland and all of that. Everything is upside down. You go through the rabbit hole and you find out that, oh, what seems solid isn't solid.
Yes.
And what's really solid is the lack of solidity. That you can really rely on.
You can take that to the bank.
That is the bank, and
Yeah.
where do I stick it? Well, it doesn't matter. It's all the bank, So there was one other question that came up that I thought it might be fun to mention, and that is, in reading Nisargadatta, sometime I was surprised to find recently that he gives the impression not only that there are things that you should know, like I am and all of that, but he says you should contemplate on it and think about it. And then the most powerful thing is, he says you put it into action. And it's not entirely clear how a character puts non-duality into action. I don't know if he means you should always be reminding yourself, this is empty, or this is not me, or this is not the self, or whatever. But I'm interested in your take on what he means, because it seems to me sometimes he talks as if it's really kind of crucial that non-duality is interesting to think about, but putting into action is the acid test.
So yeah, and what's happening is, and you already know this, but what Nisargadatta says is always contingent upon who he's talking to.
Right.
And what he's doing there, I think, is he's helping out someone who knows truth, but is still caught in relativity, the experience of relativity. So he's giving it to them both ways in the hopes of penetrating there. Yes, he's telling them the absolute truth, and he's undermining the absolute truth with the relative truth. And that paradox, it's the paradox itself that's ultimately freeing, is because it's not this way or that way. It actually is within appearance. It's both ways. It's the relative is not other than the absolute. Yeah. And it's not equal to the absolute, but it's not other than the absolute. What I mean by that is that the consciousness is the awareness is the mother of consciousness, but awareness does not need consciousness. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think he's just trying to, if you will, thread a needle almost for somebody who's in that in-between place.
But this idea of putting it into action.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I mean is I think there he's talking to a unit.
Okay.
And so what he's done is he's bringing the absolute truth, and then he's dumbing it down to a unit, but he's giving them exposure to the truth. And then there's that final twist, which gives them what they can use, which is, and put this into action. And I know that frustration, because I will sit over here and I will say, well, attitude matters. Well, I mean, and it does, but whose attitude are we talking about, right? I mean,
Right.
It doesn't, there are things that you say that are, if taken perfectly literally, are nonsensical. But if it's taken with the twist of the paradox of non-duality itself, then it's not gobbledygook, and it's not some sort of languaging trick. It's there's a usable truth there, which is a very good stair step for I can't think of the word that I'm trying to use. I'm going to say I'm going to use the word evolutionary, but I don't, right? Just as in place of the right word, which I can't think of. And Robin just said, is it the difference between awakeness and abidance? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Only the problem with abidance is that we think that this unit ultimately we tend to think that the unit merges with oneness, but there's only oneness or there's only consciousness. So there is no there's not the merging of that. After having seen the truth, there's not now a new merging, but there can be, after seeing the truth, there can be new energy, new action that takes place. That's where I always talk about the fact that willingness is the key, because willingness will get you through that needle, which is, well, I don't know what you mean. I mean, you tell me the butter the bread, but you just got through telling me there is no bread, right? I know, but as long as it feels like there's a loaf of bread, then why don't you pretend to butter it? It's trying to get through the impasse that occurs when we're trying to take what's been seen on the absolute level and transfer it to relativity, or when we're trying to take what's known to be so as in relativity and try to transfer it to the absolute view. There's just no transfer there.
Right. I can see a problem coming up if people are, and I'm sure this has happened. I vaguely sense that I've seen it a lot, that people are pretending everything is one in the non-dual community. The pretense and the way of talking that everything is one leads one possibly to believe that people are more advanced than they are, and it may also kind of hypnotize people into thinking that they are really awake when they're in a dream of oneness. They're not in oneness.
That's right. There's no such thing as everything. So it's not everything is one. There's one, the way I like to, there's one thing going on, right? Is it that and that's it. But it's not. I kind of get itchy when somebody talks, well, we're all oneness or whatever, and I don't know the we all they're talking about. And everything is oneness. No, it's not the way it's seen here.
But that's different.
And oneness, excuse me one second, and we must understand that oneness itself is a dream.
Right.
Oneness is the dream, because awakeness dreamed it, whatever I'm calling awakeness. whatever that is, it basically had a dream that it woke up. And
And there's a difference between that sort of self-hypnosis that all is one and a real reliance on a belief in oneness rather than experience. And then there's the inquiry, ongoing inquiry as a kind of natural thing, which is not which doesn't have to be a belief in something. It's rather a kind of a deconstruction of whatever's going on, who is experiencing this, or okay, who's getting angry now, or whatever. I think that's very different, isn't it, from reminding myself, oh, everything is one and we're all one and all of that.
and I still need to be careful when I go through intersections.
Totally.
So but there's still even though we know that there's just one, it's still incumbent upon me to brush my teeth within the play of oneness, because otherwise I'll be in this place with rotten teeth.
Right, and sometimes one might even interpret Nisargadatta to be saying, yeah, it's all a dream, so do what you like, and including the intersection or whatever. But that doesn't seem to be at all what he really means.
No, it's not.
Although he does talk about courage. In some places he boils earnestness and everything down to courage. He says he lives on courage, and the opposite. He says that unwillingness is really the same as fear. It's the opposite of courage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that the willingness is the open arms, and the lack of willingness is the closed off unit, right? It's just no, not for me. Whereas this is bring it on. Yeah, and it's I can't say that every arising is as welcome as each one. I mean, when my friend called me yesterday, I noticed that didn't suit the unit's preferences, and simultaneously it was noticed, yes, which so what, right? I mean, it may not suit the Wicked Witch of the East either, but it's unnecessary that something that doesn't exist, when you realize it's unsatisfiable, quit trying to satisfy it and take it as it is.
Well, right. And when you're working with someone in a session, it seems like if I'm just following Nisargadatta's idea, the only problem really is the person dealing with their fear, because that's where the unwillingness has to be coming from. So when the fear is arising or whatever, diffusing that, do you find different ways of diffusing that? Do you see that as the main problem, or do you see it as conceptual?
If we look at it, A Course in Miracles, which it's a good book in there, it's not in there by itself, but it's a good book in there. Right, and it states that there's only two forces, love and fear, and I have no argument with that. Right, and so what we can learn to do is we can welcome an arising. We can apparently avoid an arising, but we can welcome an arising, so to speak, without loving it. I mean, I'm so here we are again back to the relative and the absolute. I am not on the sidelines applauding everything that's happening on the earth because I know that this is a perfect world. I notice that it's perfection playing out, which from this very, very, very limited view, it's ugly as hell. And that if there's something that can be done here to alleviate that is not detrimental to the unit here, then I'm going to end up that's the way I'm going to end up going. But if I am, but I'm not, I'm not gonna, when I see that there are hungry people, I do donate money, but I'm not donating all of it because I can't, I have to balance the two. And because what happens then is I just become competition because now I'm begging as well. And we've cut that off. So to be willing to accept this arising open-mindedly. It's a little bit.
That involves accepting fear. There's one thing being the fear and accepting the fear, right?
Yeah. If you accept the fear, then you're not the fear. And it's just like accepting awakeness is not the same thing as being awakeness, and it works on the other way too. So we have no choice but to accept everything as it is. That's the way of it, right? There's no getting away from it. But we constantly live or try to live in another dimension where everything works out just the way we want. Yeah, which is it's raining, I'm getting wet, it shouldn't be, but it can't not be. This is it. I mean, there's no alternative, there's no comparison, no nothing. But over here, I'm living in a world where it's not raining. And it's not raining because I don't want it to. Until I do. And and the farmers will just have to hold out until I'm ready for the rain. It's our suffering is constant. Our everyday suffering is from trying to live in what isn't. And this teaching, what as Nisargadatta said, freedom from imagination. We try to live in imagination. I wish I hadn't done that yesterday. Okay. Wish it all you want, focus on it. You suffer from it as long as you want. I'm going to notice that the best thing about yesterday is that it's over. And that my focus always needs to be on right now. Because this is not good advice. It's the only thing there is. Yeah.
Right.
So noticing that there is no counter programming to which we can run when we find these arisings to be disappointing. Yeah, it's just insane. Turn it around. This is it. What part of this is it do we not understand? And we actually can't until we do. But once we do, it behooves us to be willing to be humble enough to not graduate from spirituality, but have a willingness to pursue this. And it's not to pursue this to an end. This is all about the means. It's not about the end. Yeah, it's just there's no end. But there is continuing clarity, which brings about freedom not only for us, but it gives there's a relaxing presence that affects everybody you touch. If it doesn't mean that you're going to stop an active shooter by walking in the room with him. He's probably not going to notice you before he can shoot you. But it does mean that when I walk into a room full of people, that the rising tide raises all boats. And when you walk, when there is conscious awareness afoot, it's raising all boats a little.
Well, yeah, once I heard a description, I don't know where it came from, of what, I don't know, proper dealing with this is it, is to, in a pinch, one could do it as a practice. You go to a bus stop with no intention of getting on a bus and just wait there.
Yes, yes.
Waiting for nothing, in other words. But that's the practice. That's what's going on. There's nothing going on, and that's totally all right.
Yeah, but I can remember Eckhart used to be really big on that. You know, he used to always say, you know, we don't want to be waiting, right?
Yeah.
And that's right, because when we're waiting, what we're doing is we're saying that, you know, we're just relegating this rising to being the setup for the big, really cool, important rising to come. And then we never have that arising can never come because we're too caught up in getting to it instead of recognizing this is it.
Yeah, it's really a good description of meditation, waiting without a goal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, yeah, I like that. It's Adyashanti sometimes calls it what is he? Oh, it might no, this goes back to Eckhart. Eckhart was talking about we meditate like a cat watching a mouse hole, which is, now the cat is expectant of a mouse, and we don't want to be expectant of a mouse, but we can notice that staring at that mouse hole, there's the potentiality for everything. For anything. Yeah. And there's an attitude, I haven't talked about this in a very long time, but at any length, but there is an attitude that is here and has been here for a long time. And it doesn't really exist, but it is the sense that there's an attitude of pre-surrender, which means there's a willingness to accept what comes. And I used to think it was from a unit, and I called it pre-surrender because I thought that I was pre-surrendering to God is the way that I thought. But after seeing through all that, I noticed that there's still this attitude of willingness. There's still this attitude of being open to this moment. And the doorway there, I think, really is gratitude. I think that when we're grateful for what we are, we can't simultaneously be bitching about what's here. And we can't simultaneously be bitching about anything. We're noticing we're noticing gratitude. We notice that there's no genesis for that. There's just gratitude. There's no reason. There's no point. It's not the development of anything else. It's just gratitude. And with that gratitude, there is an openness. Yeah.
Yeah, very beautiful. Awesome, Fred. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. Keith, come on in, Keith.
Hi, Fred.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Good. I'm going to kind of fumble my way through it, like Glenda said.
Good. Yeah, that's what we all do.
So there's this thing. It's this. I'll say it's this trick that you pull about every third satsang that I'm here, where you're talking to me through all these other units.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's an amazing experience, and the thing is, I noticed that about maybe an hour ago, and I was kind of excited to see it again. But then I realized it keeps happening. Like even through the people you continue to talk to after that, it just keeps building and keeps building and keeps building. And I guess I don't really have a question. I just wanted to comment about that. And
yeah. So there's an experience that I'm hearing more and more of. It's just an experience, and I'm not trying to put any weight on it, but it does kind of speak to what you're talking about. Is that there are quite a number of people who've reported seeing that I come to them in their dreams. Okay. And obviously what comes to them in their dreams is their projection of this as being representative of clarity or whatever you want to call it. It is, but it can feel very, very own point, singular. And the more on track you are with the teacher, the more you'll pull that out. Yes, because there's only one thing going on. So the message is to only you.
Right. Right.
And it's from only you. And through the Keith unit, through that conditioning, there is an ability to pull wisdom in and make it personal, even though there is no personal thing. But but it will brings about an alertness on a localized level, and there can be there's some sort of transfer of energy that occurs with that. I don't understand it. I'm not saying it's real or that I'm good at it or anything like that. I'm just saying that there is some kind of transfer of energy with that. It's what I feel when I am in an awakening session. And I noticed that, like I had one not too long ago, where I was trying so hard to help this guy see it. And and unfortunately my agenda was in there. I wanted him to wake up because I just cared. I mean, there was not a self thing in there. It was just, that is the natural bent here. Is I want everybody that's supposed to get it. And I want to make sure that if they're supposed to get it, I don't fall down on my job. And make sense out of that as you will. And there was the recognition that I can't give it to him because it can't actually be given. It has to be taken, which is what you're talking about. So because, and actually, if I look at my own words, I can see how that fits in there, which is that I say, that in order to have a successful awakening session, the only thing that I need is a client who's willing and able to tell themselves the truth when it's presented with it. In other words, the truth is here. The same dog and pony show goes to everybody. Almost everybody wakes up, but there's some that can't, that don't. And it's not their fault. There's no one there. It's just the way, it's just the workings of oneness. But there is a sense of desperation over there that they can't get it, and disappointment and whatever. And it's just what's happening. It's just what's happening. That's right, Lloyd. Readiness is all. And at the end of such things, I try to tell them, look, you didn't make a mistake here. You didn't blow it, neither did I. I mean, you got the same thing that's woken up 2,000 other people. But it is not in the cards for that to take today.
Well, it's really interesting to me that it's not necessarily, it's not an intellectual thing either, which is also part of what's happened to me today. A lot of times in between these moments, I get so buried in Keith's bullshit that it's like you just uptight and twisted in knots, and the solution to it isn't to solve those problems. That's like trying to go into a dream and fix what's wrong in the dream. The point is to wake up.
Yes, that's it.
And that's, I don't know, like it's almost like that's something that's not under my control. It's more like letting go.
It's not. And that's what I try to tell them. It's not under their control. It's not up to me. It's not up to them. What happens, happens. And we have to be willing to accept that, whether we want to or not. And I will stay long with a person trying to make sure they get it. I will just, you've been the victim of some rattling from here, and I will, right? And I will shake that thing and try to make it, and try to get it to work. But the moment that it's seen that I can't, that I'm at an impasse and we're not going to do any good, that's when I'll end the session, and I won't have any sense of failure. There's and there's just no sense of it. I recognize that readiness is all. Yes. And it looks, by the time somebody stumbles in here, and it just, I mean, because it's kind of off the wall compared to Aja and Rupert and all these people that got a zillion followers and do a different thing. The most people, by the time they've gotten here, they've suffered enough. But I hate to say it, but the truth is, but some haven't. I had a guy that a couple of weeks ago, and he told me, he'd had an awakening before, a couple of decades before, and and he wasn't really experiencing suffering, and it was, well, what in the hell are you doing here? Well, I feel like there's more, and that's just the dream in operation, right? It was that, but my key being, there's no suffering there. There's no motivation to give me that close attention, that open-mindedness that is required for this leap. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely my experience here.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's perfect. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
It's great to see you. Great to see you always. And John Lane, come on in.
Yeah, hey, Fred.
Hey, John.
Yeah, so I just want to share one is this experience from this location, something that happened. So what happened was, I had like a heart opening, and basically it was that event maybe like a month and a half ago. It was a guided meditation, and during the meditation, it happened. I was aware when it happened. It was completely unexpected. I never even thought that this unit was capable of something like that. It was really something else.
Yeah.
And again, like now, my experience is like I have two hearts, basically. And this one here is, again, if you look in the literature, it's on the right side. And that's exactly where it is. And it just, you talk about gratitude and that kind of thing. And something else about it that is really sort of striking from here is like there's devotion towards that. Like I never really felt devotion towards something, but I can have devotion towards that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
And that devotion, it sounds real funny because it's a relative thing, but it's sort of the driver. It is the push that Nisargadatta said we always had to have, and it doesn't stop. When there was a hard awakening here some years back, and I had been awake for a number of years with an awakened mind, but really, and a sense of heart and a sense of compassion and everything, but it was still not, I knew that there was no true heart awakening that had occurred. And there was a mind awakening and there had been a gut awakening, but just not the heart awakening, because there was not there just wasn't that, the love just wasn't everyday experience, right? It just wasn't. It was something that I talked to other people about and that I knew existed, that I knew, blah, 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 but it was not my personal, if you will, languaging, but it was not the experience here. So that heart awakening, what that really is it's just the successful demolition of an emotional stone. And when that stone is demolished, love radiates. That is its nature. It is its nature to radiate. And it becomes apparent now, and it's apparent here now in everything I do, which does not mean that everything that's done here is loving, but if it's not, I notice it. It's noticed. When I say I notice it, awakeness takes note. So I could hear it in your voice. I almost was tearing up as you spoke because I could feel it. And that's the real deal, pal.
Yeah, no, it's, you know, it's great to be able to share it with you and you know, and basically it gives a different perspective basically from being with that in a way. So the way it seems now, like, is like Johnness is like this messiness that's still going on basically, you know, but
Yep.
it's almost like there's this current in which everything is happening. So sort of going back to what Lloyd was talking about,
Yeah,
oneness in action, in a way, it's always happening in a way, at least from this
because
perspective.
oneness is a verb.
Yeah.
I mean, awaken,
Or awakeness,
is a
yeah.
verb. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
So it's that, and it's that constant river.
yeah,
It's the river without either source or delta.
yeah. But yeah, it's just sort of cool the way how the messiness can still happen. You know what I mean?
It's right.
It's just sort of, yeah. And you know, I really maybe not take it as personally anymore.
Yeah,
You know?
right. I'm not disappointed so much often over here in behavior, but I notice Betsy goes right. Goes like that pretty often, right? So I think it's there's still a lot of clearing that needs to take place.
Oh, sure. All right. Well, thanks, Fred.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad you could be here and share that, John. That's wonderful. Ted. Yes, Ted.
Hi, Fred.
Hey.
Nice to share all this. Is wonderful, especially what John said. That's one thing I have. I was a very sensitive child when I was young, and learned how to protect myself emotionally over a period of years. And now, of course, all those walls and barriers and stone are a problem or a blockage, but they sure kept me alive for 50 or 60 years. But now they're a problem. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. I was going to mention you were talking about the experiences people have with we go back and forth with awareness and the character and sometimes have some very interesting hallucinations or experiences. I wanted to mention Vivekananda. He had that one where he was training under Ramakrishna, him and another guy, and they were making fun of something that Ramakrishna had said. And so Ramakrishna reached out and touched Vivekananda on the shoulder. And immediately, Vivekananda saw the whole world as what it really is with the dream. Everything was like, I guess he wouldn't have known what that was, but it was like a video game. But this was hundreds of years ago. So he saw the whole thing, and he saw it was all unreal. And he went home, and this is the Vedanta Society he's talking about it. He went home and he walked in front of vehicles and things because he knew it didn't matter, right? But he would have been killed because he was in the dream. He would have been killed.
Yeah.
So it was pure fortune that he didn't die. And then he got to his home where his mother, and he wouldn't eat. He didn't. So what's the point of eating? So there is. That's an experience that would be really, really difficult. I just wanted to mention it to you because it kind of dovetails what you and Lloyd were talking about.
Yeah, because it's what is seen from the absolute cannot be adequately translated on the relative level. And seeing that there's nothing to do and no one to do it, that's an absolute truth. It is an absolute truth. That doesn't make it a relative truth. It really does not. And then the word relativity is the world of experience, the plane of experience. So within relativity, I mean, he just better be lucky that there were some good drivers out there, because, you know, imagine that he got just badly hit in the leg. I don't think there would have been absolute peace and acceptance there on the road as he bled, right?
Yeah.
It would be then, because human nature, because that would be a strike at the very humanity that is the tool. And there would be pain, which is just an alert that there's something wrong, and do something about it, and quickly. And if you don't eat, then to try to be like Gandhi got his directions not from the relative plane. And his direction was, it was pure. He didn't have to eat, but he suffered ill health and everything else because of it.
Because he ate so little.
I think he had about 2 teeth, if that, at his death.
I think this thing with Vivekananda illustrates what you're often talking about, which is that the two sides both matter. You know, you just said it right there with talking about Gandhi, that, you know, you and you talk about how oneness has to surrender to the dream. But I mean, the two sides matter. The dream is still going to kill you if you walk in front of a truck.
Yes, it's,
or at least kill your body, I should say.
Going to kill the body. That's right. And that is, I mean, the way that I think of it is, sadly, it's the way my mother thought of it. And she was a devout Christian that drove us all crazy. But she would say, the body is a temple. And guess what? She's right.
Yeah.
It is a temple. And the way that we treat it, it may not matter in the end, but it certainly counts, and it counts in a big way. So tending to the body is like you're giving the gardener all the tools, all the earth, all the fertilizer, all the everything that he needs, the seeds and all of that. But the gardener is sitting in a lawn chair waiting for the garden to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's like the old farmer that was very proud of his farm, and the preacher came along and said, "It's wonderful what God has done." And the old guy says, You should have seen how he had it before I got here.
Anyway, thanks, Fred.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you very much, Ted. And Carter, let's wrap it up.
I just had one comment that was brought up by that last thing of, oh, it doesn't matter, it's all a dream. And
Yeah.
it's a quote from Rick Weinman that I just found. Awakening is often thought of as transcendence, but it gives you freedom to be human rather than be a human, me,
Beautiful.
One could say it took timelessness and eternity to create this particular human experience. So it would be a dishonoring of the source of all of this if our only intention was to escape humanness rather than embrace it fully from awakeness.
Yeah. So even though we are not the body, it is our charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is an experience that awakeness created.
It's certainly one that happens within awakening.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah. Okay. The word creation is a little.
Yeah. It's sort of it's a pretty full word, but that definitely is what happens, and we when we come to see that this relativity that we're bitching and moaning about, it's a gift. This doesn't have to exist, yet it does. Woo!
Yeah.
And I am a lover of Maya, and I will, and I am not a clinger to Maya, but I am a lover of Maya. This is great. I mean, there's stuff in it that the unit is less excited about. Okay, but there's still this experience in this room right now. Hallelujah. I went a lifetime without this experience. And I am just so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful that this place exists, that whatever it is that's going on, it's so grateful. I'm so grateful that it can happen and that it has. And at least on an experiential level. Yeah. Experience.
It's the gift we've been given. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It's and humans, in this human experience, we like it's contrast, and we like contrast. It's like how do you balance the boat?
Yeah.
I was thinking of nobody goes out and gets a surfboard and goes to the Dead Sea to sit on it in perfect safety.
Yeah, right.
They go to the ocean where they could get have a near-death experience.
The near-death experience can certainly be a gift, and we find gifts wherever we look for them. But if we're not looking, we're probably not going to find them. I mean, we might, but this with my neuropathy, the last joint on this finger is now numb. It's hard to do very tricky little things with a numb forefinger. But I will tell you one thing is that I have noticed this forefinger more than I ever did in my whole life. And I'm grateful. I'm more grateful now to have this limited finger than I ever was for having a perfectly good one. Yes, because you take it for granted until you lose it. So the losing of it can be a gift. It can make you more grateful, because it also doesn't just make me grateful for this. It makes me grateful for 2 arms, 2 legs, etc. Yeah.
I'll tell one more story about it's a different kind of gratefulness. It's being present, I guess. And that is that I taught my meditation class, which always makes me late here because it ends at 12. And the theme I introduced was loving compassion, as sort of a part of the Christmas whole thing. But my wife slept in this morning. She usually is in the meditation, and she got up grouchy and in a lot of pain. And she wanted this and she wanted that, all, at the time when I wanted to join Fred. And so I had a choice between what I'd been teaching, which was loving compassion, and getting on with coming to this God. And it was like, Jesus Christ, can't you hurry up? It's like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Drop that, Carter.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you could at least make it. That's the big deal, is that we get to see each other and share this space, be a part of
space, and share this human adventure.
Yeah, we are the space, but these things are pretty fascinating.
So thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Carter. Wonderful to see you. Have a good new year. I hope that all of you, this is the final session of this year, which sounds pretty weird, but that's the way of it. And I thank all of you so much for being here, especially New Year's Day. I mean, this is what they call earnestness. You're looking at it. And I thank you for being here. I thank you for being part of our lives, because you are the big part of our lives, actually. We love you very much. I'll see some of you during the week, but not many, because it's another holiday week. And then I'll have some more goof off time, and then I'll see you again. So take care, be safe, be well. Remember that we love you.